Hello, welcome back. Today I'm in conversation with DJ Miles Freedom, who is currently preparing the second episode for the Mix series that we have going on SoundCloud. Super excited. How's that going for you? Have you started? No
I've
shame if you
I've I've
haven't.
I've started mentally. I have an idea of what tracks I'm gonna pull for the mix, but I haven't actually started the playlist yet. But over the course of the next couple of days.
Like, let me just put you on blast there for a second. No, I'm okay. Yeah, so Miles is preparing a mix for us. Super excited. By the time you watch this video, you'll also be able to listen to it on SoundCloud. So, like I said, super dope. We're going to be talking a little bit about your journey, Miles, as a
Yeah.
creative, as a DJ, as a model,
hmm
your journey with wellness and just like how you how you take care of yourself, your well-being, especially being in a creative industry that's super fast and kind of hectic at times. So
Yeah.
so I feel like let's just dive right in.
Okay.
Um, Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do as a creative. I know I said DJ, model, but like what is all of that about to you?
Well, yeah, like you said, DJ, model, creative. Um, my name is Miles Freedom. Freedom is my middle name, actually. I love to address that. People think that I just like I just came up with it, but it's actually my middle name. And yeah, I grew up in Toronto for like half my life. Uh, my family moved from Toronto when I was like 13. So I guess like my formative years,
Mhm.
we moved to the Cayman Islands. So I went to like high school out there. My family still lives out there, so I'm there all the time. And I guess that's kind of like where like I don't know. I really like I think like formed who I am. Like Toronto, I was kind of always like I wouldn't say confused, but I like grew up in North York and I found like I never like kind of found my I don't know. I just didn't know what to attach myself to, I guess. But like being in an island where like everyone is like pretty similar to yourself, I think I was able to be more comfortable, you know,
Mhm.
acknowledging who I was and whatnot. But yeah, just a brief little background. Aside from that, I've been in Toronto for like basically since like university. I moved there when I was like 2017.
Mhm.
Started modeling. Uh, yeah, I started modeling. It started to pick up, and luckily, I had the chance to like use that as a tool to travel and go to all these new places, which also helped my DJing as well. DJing kind of came later. I
Mhm.
say maybe like I really got into it probably 2018 actually.
Mhm.
Um, was kind of when I decided that like okay, this is like something I'm really passionate about, like music, and um, I think that my ear is good enough, or that I have enough trust in my own ear that I think people will vibe with me, which gave me the confidence to, I guess, pursue it,
Mhm.
along with like a lot of other people pushing me to do it, which helped a lot. Like my friend Kazim,
Mhm.
always encouraging me, to share
Yeah.
my music, share my sound, just be confident in that, right?
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I guess and here I am today.
Yeah. No, that's dope. So like I feel like I want to dive a little bit into that. So modeling, how
Mhm.
did you get into that? Like you said 2017, right?
Yeah, so it actually like when I was like it was like my last year at university, I think, or like my
Mhm.
second last year or something. Um, and there was like this fashion group at our school. I went to Western, by the
Okay.
way. And there was like a fashion like club, uh, and they wanted me to model. And I was like, okay. Like I hadn't really like thought about it or anything. People had always kind of like told me I should try it,
Mhm.
but I wasn't really into it. I kind of like had this idea that I was gonna be like um, I was gonna go into like business or something, which is what I was in school for. And
Really?
like I
Okay.
didn't like, yeah, I wasn't like in the creative world at all. Like, everything was like super new to me. But anyways, I tried it out. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked the people that I was doing it with. I thought they were very like different minded. Uh, and then I ended up like going to like this like open like casting at a mall, I think, in
Mhm.
London,
Mhm.
for this agency, and like they liked me a lot, right? So I did like this kind of like little like workshop with them
Mhm.
for models, which is kind of crazy.
That's interesting. I
Um,
didn't know they had such a thing.
yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it was low key like a scam, but like anyways, so I was doing that like during my like latter years of uni. And then like when I came to Toronto, I decided that I didn't really like the agency in London. So I decided that I would try and find one in Toronto. Cause I hadn't signed like a contract with them or anything, you know. But so I came to Toronto. I went to a bunch of different agencies. It's kind of like I guess like each agency they have like a day where they just have like open castings. You can just walk in and they'll like yeah take your pictures, see if they can fit you into their roster or whatever, or if they're
Mhm.
like you. And then I went to a bunch. I ended up signing with Elmer Olsen Models. They just had a really good reputation. A lot of people had a lot of good things to say about them, and they were interested. So I decided to sign with them, and then yeah, slowly I just like started getting more jobs,
Mhm.
which was dope. I mean, it started off. Yeah, I think my first job was actually in Montreal. Um, and then it just yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure exactly what you want to know, but like
No,
it
you're
kind
on
of.
it. You're telling me the progression of it. I feel like, yeah, I feel like what really intrigued me was that you were initially in school for business.
Mhm.
So, and I think that just for the community, I think it's important for them to know that we don't always like the trajectory to like finding that thing isn't just linear. It's like, maybe we're in university right now, or we went to school for a few different things and we're still dabbling, and it's like
Right.
sometimes it takes time, and you do pivot, and eventually like there are small moments along the way that expose you to something. So like you were exposed to modeling, right?
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
somebody also saw that in you. So I think it's also like that stands out to me, because I'm like, oh, that's intriguing, like it people, if you pay attention to people who are paying attention to you, and like sometimes that kind of can help you along the way when it comes to maybe more intentionally figuring out what you want to do, or
Mhm.
like it kind of helps you stumble into it because you're like, oh yeah, that person noticed that I was really good at that, or I maybe could have potential in this space or whatever, so I feel
Right.
like that, as you were telling that, about telling those pieces of your journey, I'm like, yeah, that stands out for me.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think even like, well, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't even know if I would have uh gotten into DJing the way I did had it not been for modeling. Because like being a model, I was just like surrounded by all these different creatives. I don't know if I would have been exposed to that or like even have thought like I can make a career
Mm-hmm.
out of DJing, had I not been a model, just because I was able to kind of see like that kind of world and be in that space, right?
Mm-hmm. So was there a specific moment that really exposed you then to DJing, similar to how it happened with you as a model?
Um, Not really.
No,
No, I
just
think
around.
I think DJing I actually put my like that I mean modeling was something that like it was never something that like I kind of um really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't like my dream. Wasn't like something I was chasing. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
I think DJing I had the approach that like, I really wanted to do it and I was willing to like kind of put myself out there in order to get where I wanted to be. So like, I would tell people like like when I go out and stuff, I knew a couple people who worked at like the bars and whatnot. I'd be like, hey, listen, like if you guys ever need a DJ or you have an open slot, like, throw me in there. Like I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
get into it. And then eventually someone hit me up. I think it was one of my friends from Camp 4.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, yeah, you can come through Thursday, whatever. And that was kind of like the beginning of the journey, you know?
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've seen a little bit of your journey in the music
Hmm.
space. Like I know when things were on and popping outside.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I remember
yeah.
like seeing you pop up here and there. Caruza has really like given you the
Yes.
space to, like really expand some more, as I'm sure there are other platforms and like
100%. Shout out
people in
Carissa.
your community. Yeah. So I remember that party. You guys definitely did it.
That was crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm just like, I'm thinking about things like that, but I love that you have that hybrid of modeling and DJing, because I feel like that's a first for me, and just like me
Mm.
seeing it, I don't know how many uh model DJ hybrids exist out there in the creative scene. I'm sure they exist, but yeah, like it doesn't come, like nobody stands out to me right away. But you were talking about like, maybe DJing being something that you were more intentional about pursuing.
Hmm.
When you were going in this direction, you're like, put me on, like give me a chance. Obviously there are those external barriers when it comes to like who in the industry, really getting people to trust you, because you're a DJ. You have to come in, command the space, set the vibe.
100%.
And that's difficult. People think it's easy, but it's like, with so much music out there and so many different tastes, it's like, how do you really take a crowd of like 100+ people in any given time and space, and like take them on this journey and have them vibe
Right.
and have a good time, right? So there are those challenges among others, but what internal challenges did you face, if any? Because me personally, I would have been scared. I would have been like,
Right.
I'm about to do this, like, do I really have the juice? Maybe am I as talented as I think? Like, did you have any of those internal challenges?
Definitely. I mean, I was definitely nervous, you know. But when I don't know, I guess like I really like music is like one of the few things like I'm like very confident about, you know. I think the internal challenge was really just like um I don't know, like dealing with people saying no, you know what I mean? Like I know like I had this idea, like I know what my ear sounds like. I know how like I would perform. And
Mhm.
it's more so people just not having trust because like I don't know, for whatever reason, you know, maybe they haven't heard my music yet or they haven't even given it a chance. That's another thing, you know. I could send my mix to all these people, but it doesn't mean that they have to listen to it, nor will they listen to it.
Mhm.
Um, so I guess it's dealing with the fact that like I don't know, I had to like be patient, you know, and just hope that like eventually my opportunity will come where I get to show people that or showcase my ear, you know, and that I'm able to do like a good job and like get the crowd going,
Mhm.
and all that good stuff. But I mean, yeah, like obviously I got nervous, you know, and like when you start off too, because like I guess every like most DJs they start off the bedroom, you know, we got like our controllers, and then like a lot of the gigs we
Mhm.
actually use like CDJs, which is like a kind of like intimidating piece of equipment,
Yeah.
you know. It's very different because you're kind of like, so I guess for people who don't know, like basically like when you play on CDJs, which is like a DJ controller, you're kind of limited to like whatever music you have like on a USB,
Mhm.
right? So like most DJs will have like, you know, thousands and thousands and thousands of songs on their laptop to choose from, right? So you can't really like go wrong, or like you're kind of like always prepared in a way.
Mhm.
Whereas like when you're playing in CDJs, you have like your USB, which is like, I don't know, limited to like probably like 32 gigs. I don't know how
Yeah,
crazy
whatever that capacity is. Yeah.
right. So you kind of have to like prepare for your set ahead of time and be able to kind of like maneuver like obviously because like you have to read the crowd, right? You know, you may go in like wanting to play like uh or kind of having like a set in mind that you wanted to play,
Mhm.
and like for whatever reason if the crowd doesn't react, you need to be able to like shift that, you know, and engage with them. So
Mhm.
I guess that's like something that was nerve-wracking, you know, just making sure that I had like mentally prepared the right kind of music.
Mhm.
um and then of course just like little things, just like being nervous about like transitions, you know.
Yeah, those are
But
huge.
yeah, but to all the DJs out there, you know, I mean, transitions are important, but I think that if you have like a solid taste in music, you know, people are very forgiving. So
That's a good point. Because yeah, when I listen, I'm always picking up the transition. And sometimes I
mhm.
can be at a party or just like listening to a mix and I'm like, ooh,
Mhm.
that didn't feel good, because you kind of like, it was too abrupt, or it kind of,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I came out of my flow for a minute.
Right, 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 right.
But I like that you said that it's actually not everything. So thank you for giving that tip back to them, because yeah, I mean, I don't know, sometimes we box ourselves into what can and cannot be like, or
Yeah,
what is right and what is wrong. So
yeah.
um it feels like you have learned a couple of key things on your journey already. So like you said, patience was something that, just like learning to be patient with yourself. The preparation that comes from like just preparing for the DJ set ahead of time. Is there anything else that you've learned on your journey regarding modeling or as a DJ? Or just like as a creative overall, that has really shifted things for you and helped you thrive or approach creativity in a more holistic way?
Um, for sure. I think just kind of being true to yourself, and like being okay with like not everyone agreeing with you, like your like ideas. I think people are very protective over their ideas, and it kind of makes it difficult to share it when like you don't get the feedback that you wanted,
Mm-hmm.
and you're passionate about it.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff isn't for everyone. I think you should still pursue it regardless. I feel like, especially when I started DJing, because I had initially like kind of been known in the city, uh, or wherever, like as a model.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like people were trying to like not like discourage me, but I just felt like people were like, oh, you DJ now. Like, are you DJing because like you just have like kind of like a following because of modeling, or is that something like you're actually passionate about? Because I do think that there are a lot of people who just like kind of like music, not maybe love music, or don't really care about the craft, that
Mm-hmm.
go into DJing, because they have like this following, and they kind of like um yeah, I don't know, they just use it, but like they're not really in love with the art, or
Mm-hmm.
the music. So I think that, yeah, just basically pushing like beyond what people think of you. You know what I mean? If you're passionate about it, follow it. And I think that people eventually notice, even now,
Mm-hmm.
like I feel like I'm trying to do other stuff as well, and I already know like what to expect kind of out of people. But I'm just gonna do it anyways, and you shouldn't be afraid to put your ideas out there. Someone along the way will like it. It may not be the people you think or want to, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I resonate with that so deeply. I think it speaks again to that piece of being boxed in, like,
Hmm.
because on one hand, in our culture right now, there's like this, we're all really excited about our ability to be multi hyphenates and to really, not necessarily dabble, but like actually own and identify and like immerse ourselves in different crafts, right? So it's
Right.
as a DJ and a model. And I think that, but on the other hand, it's, there's still that notion of like, um, what is it, master of, I don't know, like you can kind of like, what I'm,
Like jack of all trades.
jack of all trades, right? Like you,
Yeah.
you can be the jack of all trades, but master of none. And I think like, there's still validity there, but I love that regardless of these two ideas, you know, you should always really focus on like what feels good to you and like what do you love and like where can you thrive and how do you enjoy your life, and I think that if it's music first and modeling and you're truly passionate about it, it's like, yeah, who cares what other people think, like let me just keep going. And also because a lot of the things that we do, like I said, we do them because we love them, and there's also a therapeutic aspect to things like music, right?
Right.
So you showing up as a model, like that's creative expression in its own way, like you really wearing
Hmm.
clothes, like I still think that's a creative act, right? Like you're not just wearing the thing, like you're bringing this energy to the wardrobe, to the
For
runway,
sure.
to the ad, to the video production that's happening. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah.
there's that element there, but then also there's like, you find a you find an outlet or a way to express yourself creatively, like DJing, and that can like have therapeutic benefits for you.
Right.
Which brings me to my next question.
Yes, 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 yes.
Do you feel like there is a relationship between your creativity or your creative identity and your wellness and mental health or well-being?
100%. Yeah, I think in order to be creative, I have to be um, healthy mentally.
Mm.
Um, I think I'm very like I kind of have like when I like, for example, like when I create mixes, I have a kind of like a setup or like a ritual, I guess, if you would say, like I light
Mhm.
my incense, like Palo Santo, sage, whatever it may be, I dim the lights, and I kind
Yeah.
of get into this zone to prepare myself to get into the mix, especially because like when you're making a mix, like you don't have a crowd or anything, so you kind of have to like hype yourself up. So
Mhm.
that always seems to help. And I just like I know I function, I function best like when I feel healthy, when I feel good, which means like I'm always like exercising, um, just because like I feel better, my body feels healthy. I try to eat as healthy as possible,
Mhm.
because I do notice the differences, right? So yeah, I definitely think they go hand in hand, and that I think being conscious of that, like of your wellness, and knowing yourself,
Mhm.
right, will make you like will help you in your field of creativity.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I feel like I asked that question. I don't know if anybody will ever say no.
Right.
I'm like waiting for that person to tell me no, and I'm really curious about their perspective on it. But yeah, I think for me personally, and it seems like for yourself, the connection is clear. They definitely interact with each other. Um, you know, I think I said it just leading into the question, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a DJ, I already know
Mm-hmm.
what the music scene is like. As a model, we can guess what that industry is like as well.
Right.
Are there any barriers that really impact you or have impacted you, like especially just getting into it? Like, um, I know a few friends who have gotten into modeling, and there were, comments about their physicality and like their weight, or maybe a physical structure and element of their nose or their ear, something, like
Right.
I think some agencies are more forgiving, not more forgiving, more accepting, and
Mm-hmm.
looking at the beauty in all of our, like, in the diversity of people that
Right.
are out there, whether it's like we're actually looking for things that make people unique now. But yeah, were there any challenges for you? Um,
uh yeah, I think just like not really with my agencies. I was never really They never put pressure on me to like lose weight or any of that,
mhm.
but I think just like it was more like an internal thing where like, for example, like if I was like to go to casting and like, this person gets a job over me, I'm like questioning in my head, kind of like, oh, like why did they get it? Or like, just kind of comparing myself, which I just learned not to do. I think that it's not really in your hands, I don't think, yeah, most of the time it's not something like you did, it's just like, I don't know, I guess like the luck of the draw, or like they just were looking for something else, it's nothing you can change exactly. That was like one of the barriers, maybe DJing wise, like politics, like, there's a lot of
Mhm.
politics in the scene, seniority, people who've been in the game longer, they don't really want to like give you that spotlight sometimes, but I
Mhm.
mean, I feel like that's any industry really.
Mhm.
uh let me see if I can think of any other
It's okay.
barriers.
Yeah. Like, so I really like that you touched on the comparison piece. Like, for me, that is huge. I think, you know, it really makes us feel like we're not enough sometimes, or like it just
Hmm.
really triggers like that idea of the ideas actually, because it's not just one idea, there's multiple ideas of lack that we might have inside ourselves, like we're not good enough, we don't look pretty enough, or we don't have this thing, whatever that qualifies us. And I think that's huge. And I mean, you see it in the physical space online. So I thought that was pretty important that you mentioned. But like, what about, you know, I'd say like physically, maybe on the energy front of like, you talked about how you like to stay fit and you're active, you know, you're really working on, you work on those aspects of yourself. Is there anything in that realm, or even the social wellness component, the environmental wellness component? Being in the music scene, there's a lot of drinking, there's a lot of like, you know,
Right.
drugs and, you know, all of the things that like kind of can elevate the party for some. So
Right.
yeah, was there anything in those realms that impacted you or continue to
Um,
challenge you? Like, and you can be real, and you can whatever, say what you want to say.
okay, bet.
Yeah.
Let me think for a second.
Yeah.
I mean, you're always I think DJing, you know, you're encouraged to like I feel like I I sometimes feel the need to like maybe drink at a party, you
Mm-hmm.
know, which I think is okay, you know, in moderation. The drugs, I don't know. I was never like it was never really my thing. I think I
Mm-hmm.
was able to like stay away from that, you know. And like in terms of like exercise and stuff, I don't know. I just like I grew up as an athlete, so it's always been like a part of my regimen, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like I think whether I was modeling or not, you know, I like to stay fit just because it makes me feel good. You know, you look good, feel good,
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, not I don't know, not too many. I've been lucky enough that I haven't really encountered that many barriers, you know. And I think that if I did, like especially for like something I didn't really love, like modeling, I probably wouldn't be um as into it,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because I yeah, I don't know. I'm like pretty okay with who I am,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like I don't really want to change myself or anything, you know, even for music too. I feel like a lot of the people in the scene, it's kind of unrelated, but like uh I feel like people play music uh for like I mean you're supposed to play for the crowd, but I think that they kind of just like sell themselves, you know, to like to play music for the venue, you know, so that they get hired again, you
Mm-hmm.
know, or like for me, like I kind of like play what I want, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm okay with like if they don't hire me again, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, it's never really been a problem. I think some people even like it, but and if they don't, I don't know. I guess I just like I have to do my own thing, you know, where I'm in control of the the entire environment. You know, if I don't like it, that's just kind of the approach I have to it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think, yeah, I don't think I need to change for other people, you
Yeah,
know.
I love that about you. I'm like, you know, you've mentioned it at multiple points now in the conversation. So
Yeah.
for me, it's evident that you have a strong sense of self with where you're at right now. And I think that, you know, when you say like, yeah, like I'm fortunate that I haven't encountered so many barriers,
Hmm.
you know, that impact your wellness. I would make the assumption, and in my personal life, I'm of the belief that it's because your foundation
Right.
was solid to begin with, that, you know, when you go into these spaces, you're not as willing to compromise. You know, it's like,
Right.
yes, drinking is encouraged. It's also a part of that social environment when you're at the club or the party, wherever the space is. um you know, but you don't have to, you know,
Yeah.
and, you know, I also don't have to dabble in the drugs. It's a part of the scene for some, but it doesn't have to be for me. So it's like you have a strong sense of self and, you know, boundaries there if you need them. Because fitness for you has already, and just like being active as an athlete was already a part of that. Again, like there's another piece of you that just seems to be a part of who you are now. You know,
Yeah.
like the moment that became a part of your identity, it's like, yeah, so those things aren't really challenged for you.
100%. And I also think like, I mean, I didn't really mention, but I think a big part is also like who you surround yourself with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like everyone around me is kind of like on the same wavelength, you know? So it makes it even like harder for me to even want to conform to like anything outside of that, right? Because I have all these people that are already similar, you know, and they kind of keep me in check, you know.
Yeah.
So that definitely helps as well.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that's important. Last month we were talking about community and friends.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think it's huge. Uh, if you're lucky, if you're wise and grounded, you can definitely hang on to your sense of self, you know, even moving in a crowd. But it's a lot harder at times, and it's much easier when you're surrounded by the right people. So
Yeah.
noted on that point. I agree. And I guess like you also touched on this a little bit, but this would bring me to my last question. I'm really curious about where you are at in your wellness journey today, and what kind of things you're currently experimenting with, practicing, to support your mental health and well-being as a creative.
That's a great question. Right now, I think things that I'm focusing on is just I don't know, I guess always continuing to grow, but specifically just allowing myself to be vulnerable. You know, I think sometimes I do get caught up, you know, and trying to like, I guess not like uphold a certain image, you know, or not let people see a certain side of me. Um, so yeah, just being more vulnerable, you know, not necessarily to the public, but even to like people that are close to me, you know. Because I just think it takes like a weight off of myself. Um, like I said, just like really aiming to like be myself with like no shame, you
Mhm.
know. Which also means, you know, doing things that you wouldn't be ashamed about, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm just trying to be a better person to my, not that I'm not a good person, but a better person to the people around me,
Mhm.
and just to myself, you know. Because I think, yeah, I don't know, it makes me feel good, and just something I think you could always get better at, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, for sure. I think you can always get better at treating those around you with love and care,
Yeah,
consideration. I
yeah,
actually am practicing that a little bit more right now, in my life. So I resonate with that. Always about the growth.
yeah, yeah,
Definitely, I think I've been growth minded from day one. It's like, okay, what can I do to be better? Not in an obsessive perfectionist kind of way, although you know the line can be fine at times, but just yeah, like being aware to myself in different spaces and trying to, you know, course correct, improve, and consider those,
right,
you know, like consider those around me, like how did I make them feel, or did we hear each other correctly? And um yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, lots of gems, Miles. Thank you. Oh my gosh. I'm
Thank
like,
you.
you know, I'm kind of like, I zoomed out from the conversation of it in my mind.
Hmm.
And I was like, I'm really liking this.
No, it's a vibe for sure.
Yeah, I was like, thank you. Yes. You know, I think especially uh, as a male in the industry, I think it's so important for me to have the community hear the male perspective,
Right.
the male identifying perspective when it comes to wellness. I think that's something that I already recognize, to be lacking in the space, you know. So you mentioned vulnerability, and that was just
Yeah.
like for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
it's
hard.
yeah,
It's
definitely.
hard.
But yeah, so thank you so much. Before we close things, uh, where can everyone stay connected to you? Do you have anything up and coming other than the Jaded Culture High Frequency Mix that you want to plug in for a second?
Yeah, I have a couple up and coming things I can't talk about though.
Ah,
But just be on the lookout.
mhm,
You can find me on Instagram, Miles Freedom,
mhm.
SoundCloud, I believe it's Miles Freedom as well. Yeah, it's pretty much it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.